Hello everyone and welcome back to our virtual Mishnah Berurah share. We are holding in Mishnah Berurah Chelik Vav. We're continuing to learn Hilchos Rosh Hashanah, and specifically we have been learning Hilchos Shofar. We pick up today on Daf Samach Hey Amid Beis in Siman Tavkuf Tzadik, 2 lines from the top in the Mechaber Sif Vav. Says the Mechaber, Im herich b'tekiya achroina shel tashrat kishir shtei tekiyos. Let's say the Baal Tekiah is blowing Tekiah Shvarim Trua Tekiah. Now the Mishnah Berurah is going to tell us that the Mechaber is specifically addressing a case that worked according to the Mechaber's minig. According to the Mechaber's minig, they blew Shofar after Malchias, Achraynos, and Shofars by Musaf, same way we do. But what they did was, they blew Tekiah Shvarim Trua Tekiah after Malchias, then they blew Tekiah Shvarim Trua Tekiah after Achraynos, and they blew Tekiah Shvarim Trua Tekiah after Shofars. They didn't do what we do. We blow Tashrat, Tashat, and Tarat after each one. They blew only Tashrat after each one. The case of the Mechaber is, the Baal Tekiah was holding after Malchios, and he blew Tashrat. But when he blew the Tashrat, he extended the final Tekiah of the Tashrat, the length of 2 Tekiyahs. So, for example, let's say that the tekiah of a tashrat is approximately 4 seconds. So he went ahead and he blew an 8-second tekiah, and he wanted that to cover the final tekiah of the tashrat after Malchios, as well as the first tekiah of the tashrat after Achraynos. So let's see it inside. Im herich b'tekiah achraynos shel tashrat, if the Baal Tekiah blew the final tekiah of Tekiah Shvarim Trua Tekiah, Kishir Shtei Tekiyos, the length of 2 tekiyos. And why did he do this, says the Mechaber? Kedei shetal l'shem Tekiah Achroina Shel Tashrat, so that tekiah should serve as the final tekiah of the Tashrat that he's holding in, the Tashrat after Malchios. U b'shvil harishona Shel Tashat. Oh, I'm sorry. My mistake. Take back what I said. I said that they're blowing Tashrat and then another Tashrat. I'm sorry. The Mechaber says specifically not that way. The Mechaber says that he was blowing Tashrat and he wanted the final tekiah of the Tashrat to serve as the final tekiah of the Tashrat and the first tekiah of a Tekiah Shvarim tekiah. We'll have to see the Mishnah Berurah inside. In any case, he wanted that tekiah to serve as the final tekiah of the Seder that he's holding in, and the first tekiah of the next Seder. Says the Mechaber, Loi also loi ela b'shvil tekiah achas, according to the first opinion brought down by the Mechaber, that long tekiah could only serve as the final tekiah of the Seder that he's holding in, but it cannot serve as the first tekiah of the next Seder. Let's take a look at the Mishnah Berurah and see where I went wrong. Says the Mishnah Berurah, Chav Gimel. HaMechaber Nakat, the Mechaber is bringing his case. Lefi ma shehaya noyagim b'mekaymai, according to the minig of the Mechaber's locale, l'skaya b'shvel malchus tashrat, where they blew after Malchias Tekiah Shvarim Trua Tekiah. Where I went wrong is on the Mechaber's minig. Ubishvil Achraynos, and then by Achraynos, Tekiah Shvarim Tekiah. By Achraynos they blew Tekiah Shvarim Tekiah, and by Shofars they blew Tekiah Trua Tekiah. So again, the Mechaber's minig was by Musaf. After Malchias they blew 1 Seder, Tekiah Shvarim Trua Tekiah. After Achraynos they blew another Seder, Tekiah Shvarim Tekiah. After Shofars they blew Tekiah Trua Tekiah. And now, what did this Baal Tekiah do? He blew, at the end of Malchios, he blew Tekiah Shvarim Trua Tekiah, and on the final Tekiah, he blew a double long Tekiah. His kavein, and his kavana was, Sheyalalai gam b'shvil harishayna shel Achraynos, that long Tekiah should serve as the final Tekiah of the Tekiah Shvarim Trua Tekiah, and the first tekiah of the Tekiah Shvarim tekiah. V'hu adin, the same halachah that the Mechaber says would apply, Lefi masha noigin b'medina seinu, according to our minig, which is not really what we do, but the Chavetz Chaim's minig, l'skaya b'chol pam tashrat. The Chavetz Chaim's minig, he says, in his locale, was to blow tekiah shvarm trua tekiah by each seder. Ve'eskavein ba'achroina, and the Baal Tekiah had kavana by the final tekiah of the first tekiah shvarm trua tekiah, that it should be b'shvil harishayna shel zechraynos. It should also be the first tekiah of the tekiah shvarm trua tekiah after zechraynos. Either way, what this Baal Tekiah was trying to accomplish was he blew a lengthy tekiah, and he wants that tekiah to stand as two tekiyahs. He wants it to be the final tekiah of the tekiah shvarm trua tekiah that he's blowing now, as well as the first tekiah of the tekiah shvarim tekiah that he would blow after zechraynos, according to the Mechaber's minig. The Mechaber said that in that case, it only works ela b'shvil tekiah achas. You only get one tekiah out of it. You can't get two tekiyahs out of it. Says the Chavetz Chaim, which tekiah can he get? Tahainu ha'achroina. What he means by achroina over here, the Chavetz Chaim, is he's blowing this tekiah, and it's the final tekiah of the first tekiah shvarm trua tekiah that he's blowing. It will work for the final tekiah of the seder that he's holding in. That's what it means, tahainu ha'achroina. It doesn't mean the second one. It means the final one. So he blew tekiah shvarm trua tekiah. That tekiah, which is the final tekiah of the seder that he's holding in, he blew doubly long. It'll work for that tekiah. It'll work for the final tekiah of the seder that he's holding in, lefi, but it will not work for the first tekiah of the next seder. Why not? Explains the Chavetz Chaim. Lefi, because shekol tekiah, every tekiah, tzarich lihiyos barosh v'soif. We already had this concept yesterday. Every koil has to have a beginning and an end. If we're going to follow the kavana of the Baal Tekiah, that he wants to divide this koil and he wants it to serve as the final tekiah of the seder that he's holding in and the first tekiah of the next seder, then ein kan rosh l'tekiah achroina, then the tekiah of the next seder doesn't have a beginning, because the beginning of this koil was to be the final koil of the seder that he's holding in. So he can't apply the beginning of the koil to the next seder. The beginning of the koil belongs to this seder. So then the second half of the tekiah that you want to apply to the next seder doesn't have a rosh. V'lo soif l'tekiah rishayna. And by the same token, you want to apply this tekiah to be the final tekiah of the seder that you're holding in. You can't, because it doesn't have an end. Because the end of this koil you're applying to the next seder. So either way, you're messed up. So it cannot belong to two different starim. So what do? Says the Chavetz Chaim, according to this first opinion on the Mechaber. Ulefikach, therefore, ein anu holchin klal achar machashavtoi bazeh. We don't follow the kavana of the Baal Tekiah in this case. Ela, rather, what do? Anu chayshvin tekiah zu l'tekiah achas arucha. We decide that this tekiah is just one lengthy tekiah, and we apply it to be the final tekiah of the set that he's holding in. And that way it has a rosh, and it has a soif, and it all belongs to the seder that you're holding in. But it doesn't apply to the next seder at all. And when you get up to zechraynos, you're going to have to blow a new tekiah. Now let's go back to the Mechaber, 4 lines down. That's according to the first opinion. However, there are those that say, the Berurah brings this down from the Torah, from the Yerushalmi. However, the Torah brings down from the Yerushalmi that in this case, this tekiah is useless. It doesn't work for the first seder, the seder that you're holding in, and it does not work for the second seder either. Explains the Chavetz Chaim, there are those that say that it doesn't work even for the seder that you're holding in. Taimam, their rationale is, does lean on basar machashavtoi, because the Torah says that no, we do follow the kavana of the Baal Tekiah. Umechalkin on a tekiah l'shtayim, And therefore, based on the kavana of the Baal Tekeah, we divide this tekiah into two kailos. Umemele in leklum, the chanal. And since we're dividing it into two kailos, it's totally lost, and you get nothing. Because, again, if you're going to apply it to the first Seder, it doesn't have an end, because the end belongs to the second Seder. If you apply it to the second Seder, it doesn't have a beginning, because the beginning belonged to the first Seder. And then if you take a look at the Achrayim, the Shekasru, the Achrayim write, that according to this opinion, Hifsid Kol Habava. Not only do you lose the tekiah, but you lose the tekiah and the shvarim and the trua as well. You lose everything. Why? Because you blew a tekiah, you blew a shvarim trua, and now you blew a lengthy tekiah, which is useless. So now that coil is a coil that doesn't belong here at all. If it's a coil that doesn't belong here at all, what are you going to do now? Blow another tekiah to close off the tekiah shvarim trua tekiah? You can't. You are mafsik with a coil that doesn't belong here. So therefore you lose the whole set. That's a concept we're going to see soon in Sivches. And therefore, you would have to blow a whole new tekiah shvarim trua tekiah. However, says the Chavetz Chaim, Ladina halachah l'maisa ein nafkamina b'chol zeh. This that the Achrayim write, halachah l'maisa doesn't make an nafkamina to us. Why? To ha'ikar kisvara rishona, because the Chavetz Chaim says the ikar adin follows the first opinion of the Mechaber, who says that in this double long tekiah, it will work for the final tekiah of the first set. And therefore it's not a hefsek between anything. Okay. Now let's see the words of the Ramah. So we're 4 lines from the top in middle of the line. Hagah says the Ramah, V'imtaka tekiah achas bein shnei starim. Let's say somebody did something else. He blew a tekiah, and then let's say a shvarim trua, and now he blew the final tekiah of that set, but he had an interesting kavanah. V'hisna, and he made a t'nai in his mind when he blew that final tekiah. What was his t'nai? She'eze min astarim hu hanachain, that whichever seder is really the one that's required min HaTorah, tala lo yoysa tekiah, the tekiah should apply to that seder, yotza, then you're yotza. Now, the Chavetz Chaim is going to explain what this means, but I'll tell it to you outside first. What he's saying is like this. We learned already, why do we have tekiah, shvarim trua tekiah, tekiah shvarim tekiah, tekiah trua tekiah? Because we have a suffix. We don't know what a trua is. Is a trua what we call a trua? Is a trua what we call a shvarim? Or is a trua a combination of what we call a shvarim and a trua? So to cover all the bases, we blow everything. So now, this Baal Tekeah wanted to be very efficient. So he blew a tekiah. Then he blew a shvarim and a trua. Now he's up to the next tekiah. But he says to himself, why should I blow all of these extra tekiyahs? Tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to blow a tekiah now. And I'm going to have kavanah like this. This tekiah, if tekiah shvarim trua tekiah is what we're really supposed to blow, then this tekiah should apply to the set that I just blew. And then I have a tekiah shvarim trua tekiah. Everything's beautiful. If, on the other hand, the real trua is what we call a shvarim, so then the tekiah shvarim trua that I just blew was pointless. It's really not necessary. What I really need to blow is a tekiah shvarim tekiah. So in that case, I want this tekiah that I'm blowing now to be the first tekiah of the tekiah shvarim tekiah that I'm about to blow. So he's making a t'nai in his mind. If tekiah shvarim trua tekiah is right, then this tekiah should apply to what I just blew. If tekiah shvarim trua tekiah is pointless, and really it's supposed to be tekiah shvarim tekiah, so then this tekiah that I blew now should be the first tekiah of tekiah shvarim tekiah, and now I don't need another tekiah. Now I'll just blow a shvarim and a tekiah. And then maybe when he blows that next tekiah, he'll also make it tonight. He'll say, if the real blowing is tekiah shvarim tekiah, so then this tekiah should apply to the tekiah shvarim that I just blew, and I have tekiah shvarim tekiah. If, on the other hand, the real thing is tekiah trua tekiah, so then I'll blow a trua and a tekiah now, and the tekiah that I just blew should apply to the trua and the tekiah. See, he's being very efficient. He doesn't want to waste any energy. So in that case, says the Ramah, Yatza, you could be Yatza with such a Tanai. Says the Chavetz Chaim, Eis Chavav. Tekiya achas bein shtei starim. This person blew one tekiya between two different starim. Ritzaynai loymar. What the Rabbah wants to say over here is, Shetaka tashrat, he blew tekiya shvarim trua tekiya, and then he blew shvarim tekiya, without another tekiya. V'hisna, but tekiya achroina shel tashrat, and in his mind, he had a t'nai, when he blew the final tekiya of the tekiya shvarim trua tekiya, she'im zeh seidu hu'anachayin, that if this is the proper blowing, if this is the blowing that I really have to blow, tala loya tekiya b'shviloi, then the tekiya should apply taka to the tekiya shvarim trua tekiya. V'im ha'seidu shel tashat hu'anachayin, but if on the other hand, the real required blowing is tekiya shvarim tekiya, yala loya tekiya b'shviloi, then the tekiya should apply to the tekiya shvarim tekiya. Because we know that min HaTorah, you really only need one. You don't need all these blowings. It's just because we have a chesaron yediyah, we don't know what we're really supposed to be blowing. Anu taikin kulam. That's why we blow all this extra blowing. The chanal b'reish Siman, like we already learned at the beginning of the Siman. And therefore, says the Ramah, you could be yaitza with this interesting tonight. Now, you'll ask me, my voice is still not perfect. Now, you'll ask me, if this Tanai works, so why taka do we blow all the blowing that we blow? Why don't we taka do this? Why don't we make taka such a Tanai? And we should just blow tekiya shvarim trua tekiya, shvarim tekiya, trua tekiya. Why do we need those extra tekiyas? So the Chavetz Chaim explains, Umikal Makaim, Lechatchila, initially, Loiratzu Chazal L'sakin Kach, Chazal did not want to be Mesakin, that this is the way we should blow, Sheyiska Rak Tashrat, Shvarim Tekiya, Trua Tekiya, that we should just blow Tekiya, Shvarim, Trua Tekiya, Shvarim Tekiya, Trua Tekiya, Kedei Shalayitu Loimar, because we don't want people to make a mistake and say, She'ein Tzarech El Shvarim Tekiya, Oy Trua Tekiya. If people are going to see that we blow Tekiya, Shvarim, Trua Tekiya, and then we blow Shvarim Tekiya and Trua Tekiya, people are going to make a mistake. And they're going to say, when you blow a Shvarim and a Trua, then you need a Tekiya before and a Tekiya after. But when you blow a Shvarim or just a Trua, you don't need a Tekiya before and after. You only need a Tekiya after. That's the mistake people are going to make. We don't want them to make such a mistake, and therefore Chazal were masakin that we should blow the way we do, where we always have a Tekiya before and after. Siv Zayin. Imta b'tashrat. If somebody was blowing Tekiya Shvarim Trua Tekiya, and he made a mistake, Imta b'tashrat, he made a mistake in Tekiya Shvarim Trua Tekiya, v'achar shetaka shnei shvarim, he blew a Tekiya, then he blew two shevers. He blew two shvarim. So instead of blowing toot, 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 he blew a tekiya, and then he blew toot, toot. He blew two shvarim, not three. And then v'hischil laharia, and then he started the trua. So he was supposed to blow a shvarim trua. The shvarim is supposed to have three notes, and then the trua. He blew two notes, and then he started the trua. So his shvarim was not a good shvarim. His shvarim needs a third note. What do? Says the Mechaber, very interesting. Im nizkar miyad, if he realizes right away. So he blew the two tones of the shvarim, then he started to blow a trua, and right away after he started to blow the trua, he realized, wait a second, I didn't finish the shvarim. Im nizkar miyad, if he realizes right away, Yiska Shever Acher, he should stop the trua and blow the third note of the shvarim and then continue with the trua. So in other words, he went toot, 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 toot. Oh, what am I doing? I didn't finish the shvarim. Now blow the third note of the shvarim, toot, and then go into the trua. Very interesting. Explains the Chavetz Chaim. Shever acher. He should just blow the third note of the shvarim, and he's good. The daibazeh, and that's enough. You finished off the shvarim. Now continue with the trua. Deloi hifsid sidroi. You did not ruin the seder. Don't think that you have to go back to the beginning of the shvarim. Certainly, you don't have to go back to the beginning of the tekiah. Don't think that you have to go back and blow a new tekiah. Don't think that you have to go back to the beginning of the shvarim and blow a whole new shvarim. No. Finish off the shvarim now, even though you interrupted with the beginning of a trua. Finish off the shvarim, and then finish the trua, and then blow a tekiah, and you're good. The loy hifsid sidroi. You don't lose the seder that you blew. Why? Kevan shegam trua shaycha akshav la'ashvarim sheshneim heim trua b'tashrat. Because what did you do that's so bad? You started blowing the trua. Let's remember, in the seder of tashrat, the shvarim and the trua are both part of what we're calling the trua. So when you start blowing the trua, are you blowing a koil that doesn't belong? No, a trua belongs in this seder. Just you blew it in the wrong place, but it does belong here. So memela, it's not a hefsek. Lakach, therefore, chashvinan lei, we look at the beginning of the trua, k'may niskal b'shvarim, as if you started the shvarim and you messed up a little bit in the middle of the shvarim. You went toot, toot, toot. You don't have to start the shvarim all over again. Finish off the shvarim. So too, you started a trua. All right. We don't look at it as a hefsek. We don't look at it as a koil that doesn't belong here, because it's a koil that does belong here. So it's okay. It doesn't ruin the shvarim. However, the Chavetz Chaim says, "V'ayin b'biur agra." Take a look at the biur agra, Shemasik, who concludes, "The dafka kishaya b'neshima achas." This is only true if you're still blowing with one breath. So you blew toot, 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 in one breath. You did two blasts of the shvarim. You started the trua. You remembered that you goofed, and now you blew the third blast of the shvarim, all in one breath. Then it's okay. But if you didn't do all that in one breath, tzarech lachzor v'liskaya, then you have to go back to the beginning of the seder. Oh, I'm sorry. Tzarech lachzor v'liskaya shloisha shvarim utrua. Then you have to go back to the beginning of the shvarim. So if you blew two blasts of the shvarim, then you started the trua, and then you took a break and you took a breath, now you can't just blow the third blast of the shvarim. Now you have to go back to the beginning of the shvarim. V'yesh paiskim, and there are those paiskim that say, one second, I just lost the line over here. V'yesh paiskim, there are those paiskim, desvirlu who hold, ta'afilu haya b'neshima achas, even if you did it in one breath, gam kein tzarech lachzor v'liskaya shloisha shvarim v'ligmar haseder. There are those paiskim who hold that they don't like this chiddush of the mechaber over here. And they say, you blew two blasts of the shvarim, and then you started the trua, you got to go back to the beginning of the shvarim. You can't just now pick up the last blast of the shvarim and continue to the trua. Kevan shal kol panim hifsik be'emtza shvarim, because lemaisa you did interrupt the shvarim. V'roi lochush lechatchila lahachmer kidivreyan, and the Chavetz Chaim says that certainly lechatchila we should be machmer like that shita. Now, let's go back into the mechaber, but let's just recapture the cases. So the first case of the mechaber over here was, you're blowing tekiah shvarim trua tekiah. You blew a perfect tekiah, then you blew two blasts of the shvarim, then you started the trua, you remembered that, whoops, I'm still in the middle of the shvarim. Now you could blow the third blast of the shvarim, and then go into the trua and go weiter. That's what the mechaber said. Now says the mechaber, however, let's say you didn't remember your mistake right after you began the trua. Instead, you blew an entire trua. Oh, now the Mechaber says you have a problem. Then, lo hifsid hatakiya harishayna shetaka. You don't lose the first tekiya, but you do lose the shvarim. Ella chayzer v'takeya shloisha shvarim. You should go back and blow 3 blasts of a shvarim, umeiriya, and then blow the trua, the tekeya, and then blow the final tekiya. So again, in the first case of the Mechaber, what happened is you blew 2 blasts of the shvarim. You started the trua, but you didn't finish the trua. In that case, the beginning of the trua is not a hefsek in the shvarim. You could go back, blow the 3rd blast of the shvarim, and then go into the trua. But in the second case of the Mechaber, you blew an entire trua, and you only realized your mistake after you blew the whole trua. Now the trua is a hefsek in the shvarim. You have to go back to the shvarim, blow a regular shvarim, and then a trua. But you do not lose the original tekiya. That you don't lose. Says the Chavetz Chaim, Ois Katan Chavches. Shegamar hatrua. But if you finished the trua, now you have a problem. Pirish. So first of all, you have to realize, what does it mean when the Mechaber says that you finished the trua? You're thinking, especially Shlomo Zalman, you're thinking that it means I blew a whole trua, all 9 termitin. I blew you have 9 termitin. It's a whole trua. Says the Chavetz Chaim, no. Says the Chavetz Chaim, Pirush, she'asa shloisha koichos. You blew 3 termitin. That's already a full trua. Because remember the first opinion of the Mechaber earlier at the beginning of the Siman, who holds that a trua is only gimel termitin. Because that's enough to be a trua according to the first opinion of the Mechaber in Siv Gimel. Now explains the Chavetz Chaim, what's the difference in halachah between the first case of the Mechaber and the second? Says the Chavetz Chaim, V'tam achiluk ben gamar l'loi gamar hu. The reason that there's a halachic difference between if you finish the trua and not is the kol zman shaloi nigmar trua. As long as you didn't complete the whole trua, have a kol ba'alma. So we don't look at it as a trua. It's just a sound. It's just a noise. V'nireh she'adayin osuk b'hashvarim. So it at least looks, we could look at it as if you were trying to blow a shvarim and you messed up. So okay, so then it's not a hefsek. Ulakach eino moyel b'hashlam shagam. I lost the place. V'nireh she'adayin osuk b'hashvarim shagam atrua loy gomar. You didn't blow a whole trua, so maybe you're in the middle of the shvarim still. V'chayzer lahashlam hashvarim. So you could go back and blow the 3rd blast of the shvarim and finish the shvarim. Ma'ashe'ein kein begamar hatrua, but not if you finished the trua. Shu kol shalem. So now you blew an entire coil. Nireh shemaskel achakach shvarim acher. Now when you blow the 3rd blast of the shvarim, it looks like a new shvarim. Ulakach eino moyel ba'ashlam hashever echad. And therefore you cannot complete that shever with a final 3rd blast. It's too late. Elo shloisha shvarim echadash. Now you need to blow 3 new blasts of the shvarim. But you still don't lose the original tekiya, because you still weren't mafsik in the seder with a coil that doesn't belong here. Because even the trua that you blew is part of the shvarim trua, so it belongs here. So you weren't mafsik with a coil that doesn't belong. Okay, we're going to stop over here. My voice is already giving out. Thank you so much for joining me for limud HaTorah. The discussion of limud HaTorah should be megan against Klal Yisrael. Rabbi Shem said Yeshua's for force and parnasa to all those in need, and we should be zeichet to see the Biyaskal Tzedek b'meher v'yameinu. Amen. Be well.